The Florida Gators are taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores this week, and I think we should talk about if they can fix some of their issues. We'll talk about that here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Happy Thursday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. If you haven't heard yet, Locked On Gators is now on Subtext, so you can join Subtext. The link's in the description below. But basically, you get one-on-one conversation with me. We're going to be putting extra exclusive content on there. Feel free to join if you haven't yet signed up for Florida Victorious. Please do so using promo code LOCKED and save 20% off of your first month with Florida Victorious. Contribute to Florida's NIL and recruiting and all that fun stuff. But now we're talking about the Florida Gators. Can they fix some of their offensive issues in this Vanderbilt game? The answer is yes. You can theoretically fix some of these offensive issues. We're starting the offensive line, though, because I want to just put this one out there. I don't think that you can fix this offensive line immediately. However, I do think that you can help them immediately. I don't think you can fix the issues of, hey, we don't have good pass blockers. That's not changing. Because the only way to fix that is getting better pass blockers. So that's not changing. You're not going to get better run blockers. That's not changing. However, when you look back at what this team has done to this point offensively, when they were at their best blocking was against Tennessee. That was the game where Florida ran more counter in that game than any other game. Like counter was just a part of the game plan there. And it worked. And again, like I know that someone asked me to bring to get a whiteboard. It'll get here when it gets here. But as far as what we can show right there, hopefully that's visible enough. This right here is counter. This is, you got these three offensive linemen all just down blocking to the, well, here we're going from the left side. So down blocking to the right. So you're working on that. And then your right guard and right tackle are pulling around, and they're essentially your lead blockers for your running back. And that counter destroyed Tennessee. No other way to put it. It was incredibly successful. I hate how showing the notepad like screws up the camera and the brightness there. So I'm just going to cover that for a second. There we go. But that counter was incredibly successful against Tennessee. Break it out again. Just do that. So you can have those three blockers. You can do guard tackle, guard tight end. You can work a ton of these run blocking plays that worked this year into your offense. Do it more. It's not adding anything new. It's just calling something more frequently, something that you've worked on and something that you practice every week more frequently. So that's what I'd like to see there. You can start running power to that right side where you've got Damian George as a mauler in the run game. I know that pass protection's been an issue for him, but at least as far as the run game goes, he's been a mauler. You know who else has been very freaking good? Richie Leonard IV. And I mean, in terms of pulling, every time I've seen that man pull, he's catching bodies. Okay? So run power, where power is everybody's blocking, and you have your guard go from the backside to the play side. So if you're running to the right, which in this case, you'd be running to the right, Richie Leonard, your left guard, pulls around and he's blocking. That is the kind of stuff where you're not even running that wide zone that I do love, but it's just not working right now. But instead, you're going, all right, we're running right there. We're running right there. We're giving you numbers. Like the running back, you're getting numbers here. Run that. Okay. And also just using the art of misdirection is something that you can do, but you're not. And by that I mean, let's say hypothetically, you've got your whoever your jet motion man is to the left of Graham Mertz, running back to the right of Graham Mertz. You run that jet motion across the field, and you can hand it off, and then you've got the eyes of the defense are looking at that jet motion, and your running back takes it the other way. And it's not something that's guaranteed to work, but it's something that you haven't done really. And by that I mean snap it and like fake the motion and then hand it off to the running back. It's not something you've done really. And what you have done hasn't worked. So I think that when you're looking at getting this game, because here's the thing with this offense, you need to be able to run the ball for it to work. If you can't run the ball, peace out because you're not moving the ball at all. So you need the run game to work. Put the run game in the best position to succeed. The offensive line needs this because the offensive line, they're not great run blockers like we thought they would be. They're not great pass blockers, which we expected that. But when the opposing defense knows, pin your ears back because they tried to run the ball the first 2 downs and now it's 3rd and 8. And they know, hey, just pin your ears back and get back there. You're going to lose that battle with the offensive line. This offensive line, look, I have nothing against any of the guys on the offensive line. They're just not that good right now. And they can get better maybe with more experience. Like I've talked about this before where I feel like an offensive line, it's more of a unit than anything else. It's more of a unit than any individual player. So maybe playing more games with Kingsley Aguakin available at center. Maybe just working together, communicating more. Where, I mean, yesterday I had Hayden Hansen on the show and he was talking about double teaming with Damian George in the run game, or just double teaming in general with Damian George. And he's like, yeah, like, we had some communication issues early on and then we got those going. And now I love working with him. Maybe there just needs to be more communication along this offensive line to start working better as a unit. But right now, the run game's not working, the pass game's not working, and the offensive line has been a catastrophic failure to this point. Yeah, we're 5 games in, and the offensive line has been a catastrophic failure. They're not executing anything properly, consistently here. And the thing that they dominated Tennessee with was that counter, and you're not calling it. You've got to put these guys in position to succeed. What's going wrong with Florida's offense right now is not, oh, it's the play calling. It's not, oh, it's the offensive line. It's not, oh, they need a mobile quarterback. It's not, oh, the receivers aren't getting open enough. It's that everything is working together to crap the bed. It's that, yes, a mobile quarterback would help. It's that, yes, the offensive line is underperforming. It's that, yes, the receivers are not getting open. It's that, yes, the play calling isn't great. It's everything. But here's the thing. If the offensive line works, then they can account for not having a mobile quarterback. They can give you more time for receivers to get open. They can help open everything up, but they're not. And that's where we talk about personnel-wise isn't going to change much on the offensive line. But there are things you can do to help them succeed, and that's what Billy Napier has to do. And that is what I think has been Billy Napier's biggest failure as an offensive play caller right now. It's not that he's running too much on 3rd and long. It's not that they're in those 3rd and longs to begin with. It's not that he's not allowing this deep passing attack to work. No. It's that as the offensive play caller, it's your duty to put your offense in the best position to succeed. And I don't believe he's doing that. And that's the biggest reason that he's failing as an offensive play caller. That's not, however, the biggest reason that he does need to hire an offensive coordinator as soon as the season ends. We will talk about that a little bit later. We are going to talk about if the passing game can get back on track, because I do think that's something that you can fix going into the Vanderbilt game and going into any other game, really, which we'll talk about in just a second. But first, with passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your number one ride, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. And like I mentioned, I think you can fix this passing attack. I do. I think that the passing offense is something that you can fix this year, this week, really, because I spoke about this yesterday. Eugene Wilson III likely coming back this week or probably next week at worst. I don't care what the depth chart says, because it said starting last week and then he didn't because it was pain management, and it'll probably be that again. But Eugene Wilson III coming back changes this offense a ton, because they will give him the ball on that sweep. When Ricky Pearsall runs the sweep, maybe once a game they're actually going to give him the ball there. But he's going to run the sweep, 70% of the plays, 80% of the plays, and yet one time they're going to run the sweep. That's 65% of all plays he's running that sweep and not getting the ball. Yawn. No other way to put that. So we will say that Eugene Wilson III coming back changes this offense because they will give him the ball on that sweep. We saw the Tennessee drive. Even if they didn't just straight up pop pass it to him, when he ran that sweep, they ran it like a swing and they threw the ball to him. And I understand that's not, that's not sexy offense, but it's at least a tinge of creativity there. And I said this yesterday too, that I think with that, it opens up everything for your offense. Because with that, Eugene Wilson is now someone who can get the ball in the flat and make a play. Like I've talked about that before, where Eugene Wilson III is someone who, with the ball in his hands, reminds me of Odell Beckham Jr. He nonchalantly creates yards after the catch. It's truly impressive. Again, he's not as talented overall as Odell Beckham Jr., but when he catches the ball, he's got that little nonchalant, like he looks like he's just holding the ball low. He's just kind of dancing around a little bit, and then he accelerates. And I think that's where he's really good. And I think that's why Billy Napier's willing to just give a true freshman the ball on that sweep there, because he's so dynamic. Big part that it opens up as well is that Ricky Pearsall is not running that sweep. Do you know what that means? That Ricky Pearsall gets to, hear me out, run actual routes. I know your jaw just hit the ground, because Ricky Pearsall gets to run routes. And like I've mentioned a million times at this point, Ricky Pearsall is going to be in the NFL because he's a damn good route runner. He's had some issues with drops here and there, and I think a lot of them are just focus drops, which are fixable. But I think Ricky Pearsall is a damn good route runner, and he can create separation. And you know what your receivers haven't been doing? Creating separation. So I think having Eugene Wilson run that sweep, which is one of the reasons, by the way, that I said I want Aiden Mizell running the sweep if Eugene Wilson's not, because at least it's just someone that's fast. And if they get the ball, just let them run. But I'm not a coach, so I don't get to make that decision. But Ricky Pearsall is not wasted being a check down option. He's your best receiver. He's one of the best route runners in the country right now. Now you let him run routes. That's a big plus. He runs those in breakers better than most people in the country. By in breakers, I mean the deep cross, the dig, the post. He runs those better than most players right now. Let him do that. And he will get to do that again. I mean, he scored, if I'm not mistaken, his touchdown against Kentucky was on a deep crosser, where he like worked across the entire formation and then he kind of just like cut it up a little bit and caught it and then scored. If I'm not mistaken, that's what his touchdown was, where it was that deep crosser. He's good on those in breaking routes. He's very good. Let him run them. Okay. So Eugene Wilson coming back should just inherently make your passing attack better. Also, something I'd like to see get added a little bit more into this offense is quick game. And by quick game, I mean just whether it's a slant, a flat, the swing on the sweep, if it's to Eugene Wilson III, just something. And I know that none of this is fun sounding, but it will open up everything with this offense as well. It's easy completions for extra yards. It's an extension of the run game, which is not working right now. And it'll help open up some deep shots. Because again, I'm not saying to add it into a ton, just a couple plays a game, just adding quick game there. And by quick game, I mean a slant, flat, something that is to a dynamic playmaker like Eugene Wilson III, like Andy Jean, like Ricky Pearsall, if you want to do that. Just someone that is a catch and run threat. And by quick game, I mean literally like grip it and rip it for Graham Mertz. Like he just takes a snap, finds the laces, gets it out quick. Doesn't have to make much of a read. Doesn't have to do much. Or you can make it. You can make it an RPO. You can if you want. You can snap it, make that read, and throw to the flat real quick, or throw to the slant real quick. You can do that. But it would also help open up the run game if linebackers have to respect that. I feel like that's one thing that Billy Napier's gone away from this year is the RPO. And I think the RPO can help open up this passing attack more. Because when you're reading a linebacker, let's say, and you're like, okay, if he comes in, then I'm throwing it right by him. Do that. Because then that can make a linebacker freeze for a second and help you work. And I know that a lot of people, I think a lot of people just generally assume, oh, RPO means zone blocking, which you just said shouldn't zone block. You can RPO anything. You can RPO counter. You can go power. You can do a ton with the RPO. So you can work all of that still and have Graham Mertz ready to grip it and rip it or just make the read and then throw it. You can do all of this. And I think that you can fix this passing attack. I don't know if they will, but I think that this passing attack is something you can fix. That, like I said, offensive line, your personnel is just not good enough. You can't change that right now. Passing game, I think you can help quite a bit. To wrap up today's show, we are talking about reason number one why I think Billy Napier needs to hire an offensive coordinator. And I think it's something that you can only put on Billy Napier. And it's that this team does not show up week in and week out. I understand that there's plenty of reason to go, oh, the offense is bad schematically, if that's how you feel. And you go, oh, like Billy Napier has said, like when guys aren't executing, our offense is going to look bad. We don't have the guys right now to run the offense we want to run. Whatever you want to say about that. I don't care about that. Because one, yeah, when you get the guys that are a perfect fit for your offense, sure, your offense is gonna work. You shouldn't need that because you should be able to build your offense around the guys that you do have. But I think the biggest issue is when you look at Florida under Billy Napier, 1-7 on the road. You look at some of the home games they've had, they still don't show up for. Look at Charlotte this year, 22-7. You were 28 point favorites. You didn't even score 28. You look at South Florida last year. You should have blown them out of the water. You won what? 31-28 was it, with a late field goal too to take the lead there? There were quite a few games now where this team, not just this offense, this team has not shown up. And that has to be put on Billy Napier. Because it's no longer they were caught slipping that one time. It's 2022 Vanderbilt. It's 2023 Kentucky, 2023 Utah, 2023 Charlotte, 2022 South Florida. Like I said, like 2022 Kentucky when you were home. There have been far too many games where this team has just not shown up under Billy Napier. They're just not ready to play at the time. That has to be on Billy Napier. I don't care if there's someone that's supposed to be, there to help road prep or hump. I don't give a damn about that, frankly. If Billy Napier hires an offensive coordinator, you know what he can focus on? Being the head coach, getting everybody ready to play. Simple as I think that's the best reason you can possibly come up with for why Billy Napier should hire an offensive coordinator. Because it allows him to focus on head coach duties. Because first and foremost, he's the head coach of the Florida Gators. That's what he's getting paid, what, $7.27 million to do? He's the head coach of the Florida Gators. That has to be his priority. Winning football games, priority. Get an offensive coordinator this offseason. I understand it's not something that's going to change during the season. I don't think I'm being unreasonable by going, yeah, it's not going to change the season. But this offseason has to be a focus for Napier to bring in an offensive coordinator. And I don't think that there's better. I understand. Again, I get saying the play calling is bad. I get it. Offensive play calling is predictable. I get it. You need the perfect players. You shouldn't need the perfect players. Because if you hire an offensive coordinator, you know what that guy will do? Or girl, I don't care who you hire, as long as it's a good hire. They will build the scheme and build the game plan around the players that they have, around the weakness of the opposing defense. You will do that. Or they will do that. You won't do that. You don't do that. But you can make sure that your players are ready to go. Because, look, even if you did have the players that fit your scheme right now and can do everything you're asking them to do right now, what's it matter if they don't show up half the time? What's it matter if half the games your team shows up still asleep? I can't think of a damn good reason for it. So that's where I land on reason number one why Billy Napier needs to hire an offensive coordinator. Because you are not succeeding at getting your guys ready week in and week out. That's the number one failure for him right now in Florida. Okay? So that's where I land on it. I think that's the biggest argument. I think that's the best argument. I think especially if someone were talking to Billy Napier about that and said, like, hey, that's the reason, then yes, it's not attacking his play calling style. It's not attacking the offensive system he wants to run. It's not attacking any of the things that he wants to do offensively. It's you can be a hell of a lot better of a football coach if you can actually focus on being a football coach. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find out my written work with Whole Nine Sports, Giants Country, NFL 33. And obviously, we will be back tomorrow talking what Florida has to do to beat Vanderbilt, which is always a fun conversation to need to have. But thank you so much, and I'll see you all tomorrow.